one thing that is always the common denominator is, what are things that these nannies and household managers can remove from your plate that you do not need to be spending time on? The mindset is you really don't have to be doing all of it. The goal here is to be present with your children.
So you want to make an impact. You're thinking about starting a business, sharing your voice. How do women do it that handle motherhood, family, and still chase after those dreams? Well, listen each week as we dive into the stories of women who know. This is Call Me CEO. Welcome back, everyone, to Call Me CEO. This is Camille Walker, your host. And here we celebrate women doing incredible things and businesses that help make the world go round. And today is no exception to that. We are talking with Bryn Ungerleider, who is the CEO of a new program called Premier Nanny Network. And if you're anything like me, you have needed help to get all of the things done. And I'm so excited to share this project and this program. I think it's going to help a lot of women, and especially those listening here, because I know many of you are busy mamas. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm happy to help however I can with all of you, all of those moms out there that are looking to gain a little extra time in their day to be with their littles.
Yeah. Now, Bryn, you and I were just speaking, and you were telling me about how you developed a love for taking care of kids at a really young age. Can you walk us through that journey of how you came up with this idea to help women?
Sure. So I started babysitting around the age of 12 because I wanted to buy CDs at the mall to really age myself here. And I just couldn't get over the fact that people would pay me to play with their kids and eat mac and cheese and have the best time. And it really became a staple of my life in a way that I would just create, income to support whatever hobby I was into. And I followed this all through high school as a nanny, and into college. I nannied full time to help pay for books and all of my rent and things like that. And it kind of morphed into just being a huge professional career. And I worked my way up into being a household manager for several high profile families and taking care of everything possible so that when those moms came home and those dads came home, they could just really be parents and be present with their children. And it's been a really beautiful journey all along the way.
Oh, I love it so much. Now, something that I find really interesting is I grew up in Utah, and I had a boyfriend in college that went to West Point Academy. And when I went to one of the balls there, they have these really fancy balls. And so many of the people back east, which is to say Chicago, New York, New Jersey, any of those states, it is very, very common to have a live-in nanny, if not a full-time nanny, that comes and spends the day at the house. That is not the way that I was raised in Utah. I never had even heard of a nanny really, other than like babysitting here and there. And what's really interesting is that being exposed to that world with everyone having the nannies, it is strange for people to hear over there that you do not have a nanny. And I think it was refreshing for my perspective to see there isn't one way that fits every one person. And it doesn't mean that one person is right and one person is wrong. It's about taking hold of resources that are available to you and finding a balance that works for you. And I think that that's really freeing to have access to that.
Absolutely. And I do think that there's a lot of pressure on moms out there, especially in our society. You have got to do it all. And I feel for a lot of those moms that are really skilled in their careers and their craft, and they have a calling for something, but they have this inner nagging at them like, well, I can't go be the CEO, this successful businesswoman. I have to be my mom. I have to be a mom. And I think that that's where nannies and household managers truly come in and let me take off these mundane tasks from your plate so you can go excel and still, come home and be a fantastic mom. There's nothing wrong with it, just like you're saying. There is no one shoe that fits all in this whole game of being a mom or a dad. It really comes down to accepting support where it's needed. And it's such a beautiful thing when it when you bring it in and allow a nanny or household manager to take off these tasks from your plate.
Right. Now, in today's episode, we're going to get into a little bit more about how you can do 5 tasks to delegate to give you back 2 hours of your time at night, so that when you do have those nighttime hours, when your family is together, that you can really value and honor those hours and make them quality instead of
Yes.
not necessarily having the quantity that we would maybe like.
Yes.
So with this nanny network, let's talk about for a minute what that is, and then we'll go into these 5 tasks to help delegate
Sure.
and make our lives better.
So I was a nanny and household manager for over 20 years. And in that time, I have expanded my network all across the country. I've lived in North Carolina, Oregon, California, Colorado. And over the years and all my experience, I have networked with nannies from Maine to California. And one thing that is always the common denominator is, what are things that these nannies and household managers can remove from your plate that you do not need to be spending time on? The mindset is you really don't have to be doing all of it. The goal here is to be present with your children. And so I kind of came up with these 5 tasks to kind of help moms shift that mindset of maybe I don't need to be doing everything. And those tasks are everything from meal prep, errands and shopping, picking up your dry cleaning, going to the grocery store, household organization. How much would it mean to you to come home and have all the laundry folded, put away, have the
Mm.
meals prepped for the entire week? You just have to take it out of the fridge and heat it up, and nutritious too. Helping with transitional management, picking the kids up from school, handling homework, any projects that need to be completed, removing that stress, because honestly, in my experience, kids are way more receptive to doing their homework with a nanny than they are to doing it with you. There's less push and pull, there's less screaming and fighting. It's more of, hey, I'm interested in this topic too. Let's work on this together. And then having a master scheduler there, having your back, hey, I see that the kids' camps are coming up and one of them opens at 8 a.m. for the portal to sign them up. I see you're going to be at work. Can I handle this for you? Can I sign them up for this camp? Can I research other camps for your kids to be involved in this summer? Let me bring you some options. Or, for those moms that are avid hikers, like where I live in Colorado, hey, let me research these best hiking shoes for you to make sure you're being safe out there, all this equipment that you need. Anything that is not a huge priority in your life. These mundane tasks, a lot of moms don't realize there are people out there that are professionals like nannies and household managers that absolutely love this kind of work and they're here to help you. So let them help you.
Yeah. It's interesting just hearing you go through those lists as you tick it off one by one. I think when we imagine how lives were handled in the past, I think of like early 1900s or even maybe 1950s when people had much slower pace of
Yes.
living, much slower
Yes.
pace of living. There was much less demand, way less activities, which comes with a lot of benefit, of course, but then it
Of
also
course.
comes with a lot of stress. And even then, there was a lot more support for resource or even to band together as
Oh, absolutely. It took
neighborhoods
a
to support
village.
each other. Yeah, like a village
Yeah.
mentality. And I
Yes.
love the idea that and bringing in a nanny makes it feel more of like a village. Like
Hmm.
I actually had a friend describe it this way. She was posting a job listing for a house manager. She didn't say it that way. She said a nanny, but more. But what she really meant was a house manager. And she
Hmm.
said, what I really need is a wife.
Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
yeah, that's kind of
Yes.
the way of saying it. But in today's age, most families are dual income, dual working households. It's just the way
Yes.
that it is. And so I love that your resources of putting this together alleviate some of that pressure that is
Absolutely.
inevitably there. So let's talk
Absolutely.
about one way as far as delegation. And if you've been here at any time at all, you know that I help entrepreneurs hire virtual assistants to help alleviate the mundane tasks of business. That means
Mhm.
that you're having someone who's helping you with administrative tasks like email, customer service, phone calls, scheduling, list making, to-dos, whatever it is. And
Mhm.
that, as an entrepreneur, allows you to think about the big ideas, the bigger perspective, the project or the FaceTime that only you can fulfill, where this is the same thing, but in the household where no one can replace you as the mother of your children. no one
No,
can take that role.
no.
However, there are mundane tasks like meal prep, laundry, calling all of the camps and scheduling. I swear, scheduling the camps out. I was just telling my husband, we have 4 kids and we have 4 different activities happening
Hmm.
every single Saturday.
Yes.
Scheduling those and like getting them where they need to be. And if he has college football, like what is the ticket holder, whatever. What is that word? A
I don't
ticket holder?
know.
I don't know. So we have tickets to the Utah Utes
Oh,
football.
wow.
And so if he goes on a Saturday and I have 4 kids needing four
Oh my
different places
gosh.
to be, I'm like, what am I gonna do? So having
Oh,
someone like that
wow.
would just be amazing. So I know one question that people ask a lot is how do I find someone that I can trust to take, to be in my home and to
That's
make my food and to be with my children? What are the hoops or I guess the checkpoints that you have so that people can really trust that they have someone in their home that they can trust them with?
That is an excellent question. And I would say to call me because I have a thorough vetting process. I work through a third party company actually out of Utah. And they do everything from, that criminal background check, the, driving record history. I thoroughly check social media. I do a character interview as well. So when I meet with parents, I kind of learn and hear about how their family dynamics work. And then when I go to find the nannies, I really make sure I'm going to bring them 3 options of professionals that are really going to mesh well with the kind of lifestyle they're living, their kind of, their strategies of how they want to parent. And my job as this nanny agency and referring you to someone is to make sure whoever I bring you is thoroughly vetted, that you can trust them. And, you will be given their their background check form if you'd like to review it. And anybody that doesn't pass those tests with me, I have an 8 point checklist. Anybody that doesn't pass every single one of those 8 points does not move on to the final round, and they're not allowed to work with me until they can figure that out. And a lot of parents out here in the country too are dealing with children with special needs. And so I also really heavily investigate finding nannies with, thorough education in that realm too. Whether they have a nursing degree and they're ready to kind of take a step or a shift in their career to helping more one-on-one patients, or if they have a special education background and, teaching, that, I do talk with a lot of nannies that are very, very inspired in that realm. And so a lot of it is just being honest about what you're looking for when you decide that you are ready to bring in that extra set of hands.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm glad that you have all those checkpoints because that's the kind of thing that I think we want to make sure all of those things are done, but we may not have the
Absolutely.
resources to do
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes. And this company is phenomenal. And they've been really great in just their communication and the information that they will offer up. And it's kind of just, it's an open book. Everything I offer is 100% transparent. And, if you decide to hire one of the nannies I bring to you and, you get a grace period, trial period, 30 days. If it's just not working out, tell me. Everything that you've given to me to find this nanny and pay my fees, I then push toward finding you somebody else because I want to make sure that this is a long-term solution for you. This
Hmm.
is something that, I don't want your children to deal with. Oh, I have another nanny I have to get to know and, having to train somebody else. This is
Yes,
meant
because
to
it takes
be,
time. Yeah.
yeah, this is meant to be a long-term relationship where if the nanny's happy, they're going to stick with you. Of course, there's unforeseen circumstances. If the nanny suffers a death in their family and they have to, step back from working, I can't do anything about that. But my goal is, I have very thorough interviewing processes with both families and nannies, and it's really fun.
Oh, that's cool. I love that idea of it, making it so that they're part of your family, because that's really, if
Absolutely.
you find a good fit, that's what it ends up being and feeling like,
Yes.
which is really cool.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to mention something that's really helped me with delegating and getting more done is Magic Mind, which is something that I've mentioned on the podcast before. And this is a small drink that you drink once a day, every day, to help boost naturally your mental performance, clarity, and immunity, and get better sleep. I
Wow.
have found, I know it's funny because we were actually talking about this before, and you're like, does it actually taste good? And it
Yes.
does. One thing
Win-win.
that, yeah, it's a win-win. You keep it in the refrigerator and it's a single-use drink that you drink. What it tastes like is it's actually, I liken it to like a green drink, but also mixing it with like almost like a grapefruit taste. It's citrus, which
Hmm.
is really yummy. And I actually have a discount code that you guys can give it a try. They do not have regular sales, so this really is a bonus for everyone listening. The code is Call Me CEO 20. That's CALLMECEO 20. And if you go to magicmind.com/call me CEO, you can try it for 20% off, which stacks on top of their subscription discount as well. So I don't know if have you ever tried it before?
I haven't, but just hearing you talk about it, I'm very interested. And, knowing that it doesn't taste really bad is a huge plus. I
Right.
think that it's always nice to know when you're adding nutrients to your system that you can also enjoy the way it tastes is that's a win-win.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm curious what are some other hacks, because you've been running a home and household for a long time. What are some hacks to
Sure.
help us save time? Maybe for people who are looking for a nanny but don't have one yet. What are some household management skills that you've built that you could share with our audience today?
It really comes down to organization at the end of the day. And how organized do you really want to be? And how much time do you want to spend figuring out how to organize your household? I think that a lot of moms benefit to, laundry. Let's just talk about that. Especially with 4 kids. Imagine how much time every week you spend switching over loads, putting the clothes away, folding. How are you able to delegate or figure out whose clothing belongs to who? And I remember I nannied for this father whose wife passed away on Christmas Day and left him with 3 kids.
Oh,
And they had mountain loads of laundry. I would come in and it would just be a mountain load on the bed. And I was fortunate because the kids and I had such a great time that they would want to hang out with me. And at first they would bring their toys in the room and play while I was doing laundry. And after a while I'd say, hey, let's make this a game. Let's set up these laundry baskets and let's pretend like you're shooting basketball hoops. And I want you to shoot your clothes into the laundry basket and let's see who can get theirs done the fastest or who can be done first. And it kind of morphed into this fun little like laundry wasn't so much a chore anymore, but it was more like, oh my gosh, we're going to go play the laundry basket game. And so that was one thing that, has always stuck with me to this day of just, how can you kind of morph these chores into something that may be a little bit more fun and change the mindset around it? It's not always the
mm-hmm.
most glamorous lifestyle. I nannied for another family that had 5 children, and the older kids were very aloof in the household and really didn't want to be a part of the family as much as the younger ones until I was, in the kitchen cooking and meal prepping one day. And, they were older boys. And they're like, what are you cooking? Can I have some? They're always hungry. And I said, how about you help me with this for a little bit? Let's talk about how we create this. I don't remember. I think I was making some kind of cheesy pasta. And, one thing led to another. And then every single day, after we all got home from school and pickups and all the sports, they'd be in the kitchen and they actually started helping me meal prep food for the week. And I remember the mom being like, I'd never even considered having them help me with this, not
Mm-hmm.
once. And it's like, well, they're here. So it's just all about, you know, trying things. I always tell parents, you're always getting an answer to your methods, and if you don't like the answer you're getting, you got to kind of change your tactics. So
Yeah.
if you're feeling like you're kind of kind of melting and not having enough time in the day, maybe kind of change those tactics and figure out how to get the kids a little bit more involved and helping you. And you can never lose when you make it a game.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that. I think one thing that's been helpful for us in the family is on Sundays, I will plan out the meals for the week. And
Yes.
I mean, I have 4 kids, so I can say, okay, pick one meal for the week that you want
Yes.
to eat this week, and you're going to help me prepare it. So they kind of take
Absolutely.
ownership over what it is that they want to eat, but also the preparation of it as well, which can be really helpful. And it also, I think, gives them confidence. It's funny
Yes.
because my oldest is 16-year-old boy,
Hmm.
and he has a girlfriend now. And
Ooh.
he will kind of say, ooh, I know how to cook this, and the other thing, and it's a confidence booster for him. So I
Yes.
think that if we can take maybe the interest where he was the pickiest eater in the world as a kid, I thought this kid is going to live off crackers and toast the rest of his life. As they get older, their taste buds change and develop. And I would remind him of that. Just because you didn't like this last year doesn't mean you're not going to like it this year. Let's just keep our open mind and see if you like it. Let's just try it. And part of it that really helped was getting him involved in the kitchen and touching the different foods and textures and seeing how they came together. And
Yeah.
that takes time. I mean, it's not something that happens immediately, especially with children who are sensory sensitive, which describes a lot of my children. But now that he's older and has had that experience, he now takes pride in knowing
That's
how to prepare
wonderful.
different foods. Yeah.
I really love that. And it's also, you're raising humans. One of these
Mm-hmm.
days, your son's going to be 18, he's going to be going to college. You're raising young adults that need to go out into the world and know how to take care of themselves. And
Yep.
being in the kitchen is a great place to start. So that's really wonderful. I'm glad that he is really getting into it and can tell his girlfriend he can cook. That's really sweet.
Yeah. And when she's not feeling well, he's like, well, I could cook these three things. Do you
Yes.
want any of those three things?
It's
Which
great to
is
offer
really
options.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some maybe stories that you've learned the hard way of things that have gone wrong, or maybe something that wasn't operating well in the house that you were able to remedy? Or maybe something where you learned doing something one way and then fixing your way of doing it.
That's a really great question. And I'm going to answer it from the standpoint of a nanny. And I think that when you find a nanny to come and be a part of your household, you'll know they are a true gem when they know when to back off and to let you take the lead as the parent. I think that there is a lot of opportunity, especially for mothers in my experience, to really butt heads like, well, my kids like the nanny more than me because they're listening to the
Mm,
nanny. And that's not the case. We're just fun and we leave. Unless you have a live-in nanny, I'm going home at the end of the day. So I'm like a novelty that kind of floats in and out of the household where you are the constant. And I think that, like I said, if you have a true gem of a nanny, they'll know when to back off and go, will you please listen to your mom? Your mother's talking to you. Like, I'd love to play with you, but right now let's both focus on what she's saying. So making sure when you invite that, that help into your household, making sure that they know that you are the boss, you're the CEO of your home, and it kind of comes down to what you need to have happen. That's what needs to happen, period. And I don't think I've ever really learned in any hard ways. I think that I just have been really great about picking up on that energy of a mom that just feels like I am not getting anywhere right now and I could really use some extra support, especially when the dad's still at work and they're home and they're trying to wrangle and get everything ready for sports and pool days, and I'm there trying to also help wrangle the chaos. And it's just about being a really great team that communicates well, that can see and anticipate the next step that needs to happen, and not really feeling like you need to micromanage this nanny, and making sure that they feel equipped with the tools they need to make the right decision with your kids.
yeah. Yeah, that's a great answer. Communication is always key with any kind
Yep.
of help that you get in
Hmm.
any regard. What are some systems that you have utilized in the home, whether it be like a morning time system, after school system, or bedtime system that can help families run their homes more, I guess, what's right, smoothly is a good word for that.
That's a great question. I love a good bedtime routine. I don't think there's anything better for kids than to help them start winding down from their day. They've had so many sensory things with school, sports, friendships, especially as teenagers, they're always on their phones and they may not want to go to sleep at a certain time and they may not want to shut down at a certain time. And I really think that families benefit the most from like, okay, we're shutting everything down at, 7 o'clock and we're going to spend some time together. Maybe it's after family meal. You guys can, while it's nice out, I'll go for a walk and kind of just regulate those nervous systems and kind of bring it back to what can we do to kind of just chill out for the evening. I think one of my favorite things to do with the group of kids I nanny without their mom is I would, after dinner, we'd get everything cleaned up. And sometimes if I could tell that they just had a really stressful day, and we would incorporate this at least one night a week, is we would light candles and we would put on calming music. And, you've mentioned the 5-minute meditations for kids, put on something calm and just kind of sit there and just relax into it in the living room and just be together in a calming environment, have those candles lit safely, of course, make sure there's nobody running around being crazy. It's really one of those like let's just sit and let's just breathe for a bit and let's just decompress from our day. And I really feel like every single family could benefit from two things. One is family meal without any technology, period. Turn off the screens, get rid of the iPads, no phones for the parents either. Family meal. And the other thing is a nighttime routine. They're
Yeah.
huge. They're
Yeah, I
really huge.
agree. I love that you bring that up because it gets harder. Like when you have teenagers, it gets when they're at nighttime activities and here and there, it gets really hard. I think that even having everyone home and in the same place by 9 o'clock is like a
Yes.
good goal when you have teenage kids because they'll be at practice till
Hmm.
8:30 or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
But I love that
Or
idea
out
of
with
making it
friends. Yeah.
intentional or out with friends. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Hmm.
Well, this has been so great. Please tell our audience where they can get a hold of you and find a nanny that could be a good fit for them.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful talking with you. You're welcome to go to my website, premiernannynetwork.com. I am also on LinkedIn. I'm building my Instagram right now. I'm a little slow to that game, and also on Facebook. But just search for Colorado Nanny Agency. I am nationwide. I am in Colorado is where I live, but like I said, I can help find a professional childcare provider for you anywhere. So, and thank you again. This has just been wonderful talking with you about this
Yeah.
and learning about your family too and all the things you have going on.
Oh,
It's
of
great
course. It's,
great to
yeah.
hear.
Thank you. And she mentioned, which I don't know if I will plug in a commercial if you've heard one or not, maybe you have, but I just launched 5 Minute Meditations for Kids, a brand new podcast to help you bring calm and solace into your family. And it's 5 minutes a day. So we have episodes specifically around going to school anxiety, better sleep at night, building confidence, overcoming fears. And it's meant to be a huge resource for families, coaches, teachers, anyone that needs just a 5 minute reset. So thank you for bringing that up because I think it's going to bless a lot of families. And I really appreciate you all being here and to not be afraid of delegation and asking for help. And I think that this resource of your nanny system is going to be so helpful to so many
Thank
families.
you.
So yeah, last
Thank you.
reminder, check out Magic Mind at magicmind.com/call me CEO. The code is call me CEO 20. And we'll see you next time.
Hey, CEOs, thank you so much for spending your time with me. If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, please let me know in a comment and a 5-star review. You could have the chance of being a featured review on an upcoming episode. Continue the conversation on Instagram at Call Me CEO Podcast. And remember, you are the boss.